In bustling New York City, Emily's world had grown smaller since the accident. The busy streets outside her apartment felt both familiar and distant at the same time. From her wheelchair, she watched the crowds hurry past, heads down, eyes focused on their phones or meetings, as if the world had moved on without noticing her. Inside her high-rise apartment, the walls echoed with silence, the emptiness magnified by the absence of laughter and chatter she once took for granted. Her days blurred together, a monotony punctuated only by the occasional call or video chat that often ended awkwardly. Her father, a powerful CEO, was constantly consumed by work. He managed international deals, board meetings, and endless video conferences. Even when he was physically present at home, his mind seemed elsewhere. Emily remembered how he used to tuck her into bed, read stories, and listen to her talk about her dreams. Now his presence was fleeting, a shadow that moved through the apartment without stopping long enough to notice her struggles. She missed the feeling of being truly seen, of being more than the CEO's paralyzed daughter. Emily's friends had gradually drifted away. Some didn't know how to act around her, unsure whether to treat her differently or pretend nothing had changed. She understood their discomfort, but that didn't make the loneliness any easier. Invitations dwindled, messages went unanswered, and eventually, Emily learned to stop expecting them. The world outside seemed like a place she no longer belonged, and the barrier of her wheelchair made her feel trapped both physically and emotionally. The city's energy contrasted sharply with the stillness of her own life. Rain fell in sheets one evening, turning the city streets into reflective mirrors of neon lights and car headlights. Emily decided she needed to step outside, to breathe in the cold, wet air, and remind herself that life still existed beyond her apartment. She wheeled toward the nearby park, the familiar path both comforting and challenging. The sound of raindrops pattering on her wheelchair wheels and the distant hum of traffic became a strange form of meditation. For a fleeting moment, she felt free, almost weightless, despite her limitations. Then disaster struck. Her wheelchair, old and worn from years of use, suddenly gave way. Her wheel bent awkwardly, and Emily was stuck in the middle of the sidewalk, unable to move forward or retreat. Panic and frustration surged within her, and tears pricked her eyes. She tried to maneuver the chair, rocking it back and forth, but it was useless. People passed by, some glancing briefly, but none stopping to help. Emily felt invisible in the very streets she had once loved. The world seemed indifferent, and her isolation deepened. That's when Jake appeared. He was a young mechanic, no older than 25, on his way home from a late repair job. He noticed the struggling figure in the rain and instinctively moved closer. His clothes were smudged with grease, and his hands bore the marks of long hours of work, but his expression was kind and unassuming. Without hesitation, he knelt beside the wheelchair, examining the broken wheel with a practiced eye. "Hey, looks like you've got a problem here," he said gently. His voice was calm, steady, and somehow reassuring. Emily looked up at him, uncertain whether he would leave or offer real help. Jake smiled, wiping his hands on a rag, and said, "Don't worry, I can fix this. It might take a bit, but you'll be rolling again in no time." There was no hint of pity in his tone, only genuine concern. Emily, unaccustomed to such kindness from strangers, felt a flicker of hope. She nodded, allowing him to work, and for the first time in months she felt seen, not as a burden, not as a symbol of her father's status, but as a person. As Jake carefully disassembled the wheelchair, Emily watched him work. The rain had soaked her coat, and her hair stuck to her face, but she barely noticed. His hands moved with precision and confidence, adjusting bolts, examining the wheels, and checking the brakes. He explained what he was doing in simple terms, and Emily listened, fascinated by his knowledge. For a moment, the city's chaos faded, leaving only the quiet sound of raindrops and the soft clink of tools. It was a strange, comforting rhythm, and Emily felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in years. Over the next several minutes, Jake shared stories of his own life. He talked about how he became a mechanic, the challenges he faced growing up, and the satisfaction he felt in helping people. Emily, in turn, began to open up. She spoke about her accident, the loss of independence, and the isolation that had become her daily companion. He listened without interruption, nodding and offering gentle words of encouragement. It was the first real conversation she'd had in a long time, and it left her feeling lighter, almost as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. When Jake finally finished, he tested the wheelchair, spinning the wheels and adjusting the brakes. "There you go," he said, stepping back. Emily wheeled herself forward, testing the smooth motion, the sturdy frame, and the renewed freedom. A smile spread across her face, tentative at first, then growing broader as she realized she could move without fear of collapse. Jake's eyes lit up at her reaction, a quiet satisfaction in having made a difference. He didn't seek recognition or reward. The smile on Emily's face was all he needed. Emily felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in years. The simple act of helping someone in need had bridged a gap between two strangers, creating a bond built on trust, respect, and shared humanity. She realized that not everyone in the world would ignore her, that kindness could still exist even in a city that often felt indifferent. The rain continued to fall, but it no longer seemed cold or isolating. Instead, it felt cleansing, washing away some of the loneliness and despair that had plagued her life. Before leaving, Jake offered a piece of advice. "Don't be afraid to ask for help, Emily. People want to be there for you. Sometimes you just need to let them." Emily nodded, holding his words close. She had spent so long hiding behind her wheelchair and the walls of her apartment that she had forgotten the power of connection. Jake's presence reminded her that even in moments of struggle, there could be hope, laughter, and genuine human kindness. As he walked away into the rainy streets, Emily watched him go, feeling a spark of determination she hadn't known she possessed. The night no longer felt lonely. The city, once cold and distant, seemed alive with possibility. For the first time since her accident, she realized that she wasn't invisible. Somewhere in the vast, bustling world, there were people who could change her life with simple acts of care, and she had just met one of them. Jake's workshop was tucked away on a quiet street in Brooklyn, a small space overflowing with tools, spare parts, and the lingering scent of motor oil. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with tires, bolts, wrenches, and bits of machinery that reflected Jake's dedication and countless hours of hard work. Emily wheeled herself inside, taking in the organized chaos with wide eyes. Everything in this room had a purpose, and it seemed like the heart of the space pulsed with energy. It was different from her sterile apartment, filled with warmth and a sense of life, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Jake crouched beside the wheelchair, unscrewing bolts and inspecting the wheels with meticulous care. "I'll have you rolling smoothly by tomorrow," he said, a confident smile lighting his face. Emily watched closely, fascinated by his movements. Each turn of a wrench, each adjustment felt precise and deliberate, almost like watching a skilled artist at work. But more than that, Jake didn't rush. He treated her wheelchair as though it were an extension of her, deserving of patience and respect, not just a quick fix to get someone out the door. As he worked, he asked Emily about herself. "What do you like to do?" He inquired casually, not pressing too hard, but genuinely interested. Emily hesitated at first, unsure if her words mattered, but slowly she began to speak. She shared stories of her love for painting, her dreams of studying graphic design, and her frustrations at feeling trapped in her own body. Jake listened intently, nodding and asking gentle questions, never interrupting. Emily realized that this was the first time in years that someone had actually heard her, not just seen her as a daughter or a patient. Over the next few days, Emily returned to the workshop each afternoon, finding a new routine. Jake greeted her with a warm smile every time, and the space became more than a place for repairs. It became a sanctuary. She explored the rows of tools, watched Jake work on different projects, and sometimes helped by handing him small items or holding pieces in place. Each day she felt a little more capable, a little more alive. For the first time, in what felt like forever, she looked forward to something outside her apartment walls. Jake began to customize the wheelchair with care. He adjusted the seat for comfort, reinforced the wheels for stability, and added small touches like a cushioned backrest and handles that were easier to grip. He even painted subtle designs on the frame, knowing that Emily would appreciate the personal touch. "There," he said one morning, "this is your chair now. It's built for you." Emily traced her fingers over the frame, amazed at how something so practical could also feel so personal. She felt ownership, pride, and a spark of independence she hadn't experienced in years. As they spent more time together, the bond between Emily and Jake grew stronger. Conversations drifted from the wheelchair to life, hopes, and fears. Emily talked about her isolation and loneliness, and Jake shared stories from his own past, growing up in a small town, learning the value of hard work and the satisfaction of helping others. They laughed at small jokes, shared quiet moments in the workshop, and Emily began to trust him in ways she hadn't trusted anyone in a long time. The mechanical work became secondary to the connection forming between them. Emily's confidence began to grow. With each adjustment to the wheelchair, she felt a small but significant increase in control over her life. No longer did she dread the moments when the chair felt limiting. Instead, she looked forward to testing the improvements Jake made. Each wheel turn and brake adjustment felt like reclaiming a part of herself. She practiced in the workshop, spinning around and navigating obstacles Jake had created for fun, and the joy of movement returned. The wheelchair was no longer just a necessity. It became a symbol of freedom and possibility. Jake noticed the change as well. He had set out simply to fix a broken wheelchair, but he realized he was doing much more. Emily's laughter echoed through the workshop, and her enthusiasm for life returned in small, powerful ways. He felt proud, not just for the technical achievement, but for the emotional impact. Seeing her hope return reminded him why he loved helping people. It wasn't just about repairing machines. It was about restoring confidence, dignity, and happiness. Emily's smile was the ultimate reward. Finally, after days of careful work, the wheelchair was ready. Jake pushed it forward, and Emily tested it, rolling smoothly across the workshop floor. It responded perfectly to her movements, sturdy yet comfortable, practical yet personalized. She turned in circles, laughing freely, the sound filling the room. Jake stepped back, watching her with satisfaction, realizing that he hadn't just repaired a wheelchair, he had helped restore a part of her spirit that had been dormant for too long. Emily's eyes shone with gratitude, hope, and renewed energy. As Emily navigated the workshop one last time before leaving for the day, she felt a profound sense of independence. No longer limited by a broken wheelchair, she imagined herself exploring the city streets, going to art classes, and reconnecting with the world outside. She had been invisible for so long, but in Jake's workshop she felt recognized, valued, and capable. The experience had given her more than a repaired wheelchair. It had given her a renewed sense of self-worth and possibility, a reminder that kindness and dedication could transform even the smallest aspects of life into something extraordinary. Jake cleaned his tools and prepared for his next job, but he glanced back at Emily with a smile. He didn't need thanks or recognition. Her happiness was enough. He had seen how powerful his work could be when combined with genuine care. Emily, meanwhile, left the workshop that evening feeling lighter, braver, and ready to face the world again. The rainy streets of New York no longer seemed daunting. They shimmered with opportunity, and she knew she was no longer invisible. Someone had seen her, truly seen her, and helped her reclaim her life. Word spread quickly across New York City when news of Jake's kindness reached Emily's father. The CEO had been unaware of the full extent of what had happened at Jake's workshop. He had expected a simple thank you from his daughter, a polite acknowledgement, nothing more. But curiosity and concern drew him to the modest Brooklyn street where Jake worked. The neighborhood was familiar yet bustling with life, and the small workshop stood out among the taller buildings, a beacon of human warmth in a city dominated by concrete and glass. When he entered the workshop, he was immediately struck by the scene before him. Emily sat in her newly repaired wheelchair, spinning gently and laughing freely, as Jake made small adjustments to the brakes. Tools were scattered around the floor, a testament to the care and effort invested in restoring not just the wheelchair, but Emily's confidence. The father expected a quiet, reserved interaction, but he found joy, laughter, and warmth instead. Emily's face lit up when she saw her father. She turned toward him, smiling broadly, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "Dad, you have to meet Jake," she said. Her voice carried pride and excitement, emotions he hadn't heard in years. She shared her experience in detail, explaining how Jake had listened to her stories, laughed with her, and cared in ways that had made her feel truly seen for the first time since her accident. The CEO watched, surprised and moved, as his daughter spoke so openly and confidently. Jake, modest and slightly embarrassed by the attention, straightened his back. He looked at the CEO and said simply, "I just wanted to help her. She deserved to be treated like anyone else, with respect and care." His words were humble, but they carried sincerity that the CEO could feel deep in his chest. For the first time, he understood that money, power, and status could not replace genuine human kindness. Someone without wealth or influence had given his daughter a gift that no material possession ever could. The CEO felt a wave of gratitude and admiration for Jake. He realized that true value was not measured by bank accounts or job titles, but by actions and character. With a thoughtful nod, he made a decision that surprised even himself. "Jake," he said, "I want you to join our company's outreach program. We help those in need, and I can think of no one better to lead with compassion and dedication." Jake's eyes widened slightly and he shook his head. "I don't know if he started, but the CEO interrupted gently, emphasizing the sincerity of his offer. Emily watched their interaction with pride swelling in her chest. For the first time, she saw her father's world and Jake's world intersect in a meaningful way. She had always felt caught between isolation and privilege, but now she realized that bridges could be built and barriers could be broken. She imagined herself attending college, participating in community events, and using her voice to inspire others, all with the confidence that came from feeling supported and seen. The wheelchair that had once symbolized limitation had become a symbol of freedom and empowerment. Jake accepted the CEO's offer with humility and quiet determination. He was excited at the opportunity to make a larger impact, to help others who faced challenges similar to Emily's. But he never forgot the small workshop in Brooklyn, where every tool and every moment had mattered. It had been the place where genuine care transformed a life, where a young woman's hope was restored not by money, but by time, patience, and kindness. He knew that the work ahead would be meaningful, but the memories of Emily's smile would remain his guiding inspiration. Emily flourished in the weeks and months that followed. She enrolled in college, pursuing a degree in graphic design, a dream she had almost abandoned. With Jake's encouragement and the support of her father, she found a sense of independence and purpose. She joined community events, shared her story publicly, and inspired others facing physical challenges to persevere. Her voice, once timid and overlooked, now carried confidence, determination, and hope. People began to see her not just as a CEO's daughter, but as a young woman capable of making a difference in her own right. The bond between Emily and Jake remained unshakable. Though the initial wheelchair repair had brought them together, their connection grew into friendship, trust, and mutual respect. Jake celebrated her achievements, attended her college exhibitions, and shared in her milestones. Emily, in turn, recognized the impact of his kindness and dedication. They had shown each other that human connection transcends wealth, status, and circumstance. In a city where many rush past strangers without a glance, their story became a testament to the power of small acts of care. Emily's father also learned a valuable lesson. As a CEO, he was accustomed to transactions, results, and efficiency. But Jake's example reminded him that true leadership includes empathy, patience, and genuine concern for others. He began to encourage similar initiatives within his company, supporting programs that reach those often overlooked or underestimated. Emily's transformation was not just personal. It influenced her father's professional world, creating ripples of compassion that extended far beyond their family. Over time, Emily's life became a blend of independence, confidence, and purpose. The wheelchair, once a symbol of limitation, became a testament to resilience and the power of human kindness. She attended social gatherings, participated in volunteer work, and even mentored other young people facing physical challenges. Jake continued to play a role in her life, a steady presence and friend who reminded her of the difference that one person's dedication could make. Together they embodied a story of hope, perseverance, and the profound impact of genuine care. In a city as vast and hurried as New York, their story stood out as a quiet miracle. It was a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts, a kind word, a patient hand, a willingness to listen, can transform lives. Jake's decision to help Emily went beyond mechanical skill. It touched the deepest part of her spirit. Emily's courage and renewed confidence inspired those around her, proving that acts of kindness are never wasted. The workshop, once a modest space, became the origin of a life-changing connection that would leave a lasting legacy. As the days passed, Emily reflected on the journey. She remembered the loneliness, the pain, and the invisibility she had felt, and she contrasted it with the warmth, care, and support she now experienced. Her gratitude extended to Jake, to her father, and to the many people whose lives had been touched by compassion. She realized that life, even in the busiest and most indifferent cities, could still hold moments of profound human connection. It only took someone willing to notice, to care, and to act. In the end, the story of Emily and Jake became one of inspiration, a tale told in small circles and shared widely among those who needed hope. It was proof that wealth and privilege cannot replace empathy, and that genuine kindness can bridge gaps that money or status cannot. Emily thrived, her confidence and independence growing daily, and Jake continued to spread compassion through his work, showing the world that true heroes do not always wear uniforms. They sometimes arrive with grease on their hands and a willingness to care. The city around them continued to buzz with energy, indifferent to many of its inhabitants, but Emily no longer felt invisible. Her life had been transformed by the patience, dedication, and compassion of a young mechanic who refused to ignore someone in need. She knew that her story would inspire others, proving that even in the busiest places, people who care deeply can make the biggest difference. Jake and Emily's bond remained a testament to this truth, a quiet but powerful reminder that humanity can thrive even in the most unlikely places.